Hello, everybody. Research methodology is what we will be talking in this short video. Research refers to search for knowledge, or research is a scientific investigation. So it's basically a search for knowledge and a scientific investigation. Whenever I say scientific investigation, it's a logical, sequential, systematic, and empirical outcomes that we look to go around it. Advanced dictionaries, Learner's Dictionary of Current English, lays down the meaning of research as a careful investigation, inquiry, especially through search for new facts. The most important thing is about new facts in any branch of knowledge. Remember, it's a careful investigation, inquiry, especially through search for new fact. New fact is very, very important as such. Research is a process of gathering information needed to answer certain questions, thereby helping in solving problems faced by individuals, faced by firms, faced by organization. In short, society is what we are talking about it. So it's a process of gathering information so that we can find solution, viable solution, acceptable solution, practical solution to all the problems or issues that an individual, probably a firm, probably an organization, or even a society is facing. Redman and Mori defined research as a systematic effort to gain knowledge. According to Clifford Woody, research comprises of defining and redefining problem. When I say redefining problem, are trying to understand the problem from a different point of view, from a different angle, from a different perspective, formulating a hypothesis of the solutions as the case might be, collecting, organizing, and evaluating data, making deduction and reaching conclusion, and if not, at the last, carefully testing the conclusion thereby to determine whether they come and formulate the hypothesis that we are talking around here, and that is what we should be trying to tell about here. This is what we look forward to. So yes, we try to define problem, formulate hypothesis, collect data, gather data, analyze data, make deductions, carefully testing the conclusions and to determine whether they fit our hypothesis or not. Research is required because of the following reason, perhaps to identify and probably figuring out the solution why a demand for product line declines, fluctuates, or increases. Because the product is an umbrella, if there are rainy rains, probably the sales of umbrella increases. If the days are very sunny, probably it does it have an impact or not. So we need to try to understand why demand for a product fluctuates, decline, or increases. Helps in making decisions. Should we maintain the same advertising budget? Is the advertisement budget focusing only one kind of customer or audiences, or it or the marketing budget has been appraised by every audience to develop new concept, CSR, corporate social responsibility, CRM, customer relationship management, to find alternative strategies perhaps. Objectives of research is to promote better decision making. Definitely, yes. We need to try to figure out the outcomes and probably manipulate the outcome to our requirement. Research is the basis of innovation. It identifies a problem area. It tries to forecast certain decision making capabilities situation which enhances the effectiveness of the manager. It helps us to formulate policies, formulate strategies, research in development of a new product or in modifying existing product. It helps us to understand competitive environment. It helps in optimal utilization of resources. It helps in identifying marketing opportunities and constraints. It helps in evaluating the marketing plan thereby, and that is what the objectives of research is all about it. But let us try to understand the importance, the significance of research to those students probably who are trying to write master's degree or probably obtain a PhD thesis. Research may mean careerism, a way to attain high position in social structure, to help the mankind in solving problems faced from time to time, make life more comfortable and entertaining. Example, mobile communication and e-ticketing. Absolutely, it has made life much more comfortable. Let's say, talking about electronic banking, things can be done from your palms. You need not visit a bank at no longer. To philosopher and thinker, research may mean the outlet for new ideas, new thoughts, new ways to do things in life, new ways to carry on life, new methods of making life more comfortable. To literary men and women, research may mean development of new styles, creative work. To analyst and intellectual, research may mean the generalizations of new theories, as the case might be. So, yes, what are the motivations to go around it? We are trying to figure it out, to get a degree, to face a challenge, to intellectual joy and doing something. And that is what we should be looking into it, not only for a degree, but to face challenge. Not only to face challenge, but to intellectually joy of doing certain things, creative thing, coming out of a challenge, winning or getting the challenges in favor of yourself. So giving a direction, sense of accomplishment to the individual, giving some indications to the government, desires of respectability works around it, service to the societies comes automatically. What, when does the service to society comes automatically? When life of the citizen, life of the community becomes much more easier, much more feasible, much more lucrative. That means there are favorable conditions of employment generation, curiosity of new things, and social thinking. Isn't that the way that things have been taken into account? That is what we should be looking at all times, come what may. And I have given you 9 wonderful methods of motivation for why should you do research, not only for a degree, but for the upliftment of people, but for aiding the government, but for enhancing the community skills, abilities, and living standard thereby. So yes, research, you have plentiful of motivations. Now, let us talk about the types of research. So we have a number of researches that goes around it. It starts from the most basic, which is descriptive. Then we can have post facto, post the event. Then we have analytical, where we come up with the reasons behind it, the factors that contributes to a particular outcome, applied or action research. Then we have the very basic or fundamental research, the pure research, just pure in search of our knowledge that we are looking into it. We have quantitative research. Now, quantitative research is in absolutely basic descriptive or population or sample size. The volume speaks about it. The volume makes the hypothesis true. Then we have something called qualitative research. It might gives me all empirical in nature, the researches that comes around it. We are talking about a small sample which is representative and true for the total population. Then comes the conceptual research, the empirical research that we have been trying to tell it to you. Any research which comes out in numbers, in black and white. We have an historical research, we have cross-sectional research, probably a product which might be doing good in one particular community is not so successful in other communities. Why? Probably why should you go around it? Cross-sectional, or is it not widely accepted? Probably there might be many reasons to it. The environment, the climate might not be conducive. The price might be very sensitive or very in a different language altogether. Or let's say the ease of operation might also take a different stanza. So we have longitudinal, we have time series research. So there are plentiful of researches, the type that we can carry forward to. Research process is very simple. It's basically starts from defining a data that comes around it, and we move around with the research problem. First we define the problem, then we try to find out who has contributed to that problem, and the solution alike. Try to find out the literature survey, try to find out from previous research finding, and then probably come up with their own hypothesis, formulate the hypothesis, design the research including the sample, collect data, execution, analyze data, test hypothesis if any, if there are any things that is required, interpret and probably report is what comes around it. Remember, your interpretation and your reporting, if it is very well accepted, will become the fundamental basis for next research as a part of a literature survey or reviewing of the previous research that goes around it, and this process goes on and on and on and on. It's like this circular method that goes on altogether. So, criteria of good research, how do we go around it? First, it should be the purpose should be clearly defined. The common concepts should be used, fundamental logical concept that a layman can understand it. The research procedure use descriptive, insufficient detail to permit another researchers to repeat the research for further advancement, keeping continuity of what has been attained. The procedural design of the research should be clearly planned to yield the definitive result, as the case might be, as what we are looking for it. The researcher should report complete frankness, be open to it, be transparent to it, uh, allow other researchers to access the data so that their finding, the outcomes can not be contested at all. Should be free of any flaws, any defect, procedural, design, estimate. The analysis of data should be sufficiently adequate to reveal its significance, and the method of analysis should also be appropriate, as the case might be. The validity, the reliability of data should be checked carefully. Conclusion should be confined to those justified by data of research. Greater confidence in research is warranted, as the case might be. Qualities of good research. Good research is systematic, structured with specific step perhaps, and how do we go around with it? Good research is always systematic. Step one, step two, step three. There has to be a sequence to the research. It has to be logical. It has to be empirical, based out of numbers of the real situation. Good research should be replicable, imitated, or reproduced by the sound basis of the hypothesis, the fundamental questionnaire, if we are looking into it, the fundamental instrument to collect data should be replicable come what may, and can be applicable in any other thing. So yes, the qualities of good research should be systematic, logical, empirical, and replicable. Hypothesis is a tentative statement, perhaps an assumption, and then we have a null hypothesis, the opposite of what we have assumed, or a prediction of a relationship between one or more factors. The problem that we are trying to study. Hypothesis can take various forms depending on the question we asked and the type of studying that we are conducting. A key feature of all hypotheses that it must come to a prediction, come must come to a outcome which before the research has actually been taken. So we have the outcome that we predict, and then we have something called null hypothesis. That's the opposite of the outcome that we have not predicted. So hypothesis should be simple, it should be specific, it should state in advance of what we are expecting. The first step in hypothesis testing is to specify the null hypothesis, H0, the opposite of what we have been trying to figure out, and the alternative hypothesis is H1. The next step is to select a significant level. That's zero point 0.05 or zero point 0.01 level is used. Typically, zero point 0.01 is too accurate research. So most probably, commonly 0.05 percentage of confidence level has been utilized, or significance level has been utilized. The third step is to calculate the statistical analogous to the parameters specified by the null hypothesis. Remember, if a null hypothesis parameters are defined by mu1 minus mu2, then the statistical uh, parameters would be m1 minus m2 would be computed as such. The fourth step is all about probability, all about how the pi value is going to be calculated. The pi value is the probability of obtaining the probability. The p value would be there at all times about obtaining a statistics as different or more different from parameters specified in null hypothesis as the statistic computed from data. The probability value computed in step 4 is compared with the significance level chosen in step 2. If the probability is less than or equal to the significance level, then the null hypothesis is rejected. If the probability is greater than the significance level, then the null hypothesis is not rejected. It is accepted, as the case might be. So yes, it is all about the probability veil. We call the p-value in this case. If the outcome is statistically significant, approximately 95% of the time, then the null hypothesis is absolutely rejected in favor of the alternative hypothesis. If the rejected null hypothesis were that of mu1 minus mu2 is equal to 0, then the alternative hypothesis would be mu1 is not equal to mu2. Absolutely yes. So if m1 were greater than m2, then the researchers would conclude that mu1 was obviously more than or equal to mu2. The final step is to observe the result, the statistical conclusion, in an understandable way as to why this conclusion has been arrived at. Be sure to present the descriptive statistics as well as whether this effect is significant or not. So, problems in research? Absolutely yes. Any research has to begin with a problem. We need to define the problem. The foremost step is the selection of the problem. A researcher must find the problem, formulate it so that it becomes susceptible to research. Component of research, there must be an individual or a group which has difficulties or a problem. There must be some objectives to be attained. There must be an alternative means for obtaining the objective one wish to attain. There must remain some doubt in the mind of the researcher with regard to the selection of alternative. There must be some environment to which difficulty patterns pertain, and that is what we are all likely to go around for it. So let us start with the selection of the problem. Controversial subject should be chosen. Subject where not conclusive proof has ever been have been presented at first. Narrow and vague problems must be avoided. The subject selected for research must be familiar and feasible. The importance of the subject, qualification, training of the researcher, cost involved are other criteria which must be considered. The selection of the problem must be preceded by preliminary study as the case might be. Now, why are we looking at the selection of the problem? Remember, whatever we like to present, we need to state it outright. The problem should be clearly defined. The problem, everybody should be identifying it. The problem should be analyzed through the literature survey, which previous authors, previous researchers have presented any findings or not. Were there any limitations to the research? Necessity of defining a problem is what will actually motivate a researchers to work on a particular track, to work on a particular topic, to work on a particular problem. Questions like what are the data that needs to be collected? What are the characteristics of data that are relevant, that may not or may be studied, may be avoided, may be considered. So characteristics of data needs to be defined, clearly defined. What relations has to be explored, what techniques are to be used for the purposes. Research objectives should define the type and extent of information needed to achieve the research objective. General objectives state what researchers expect to achieve by study in general terms. Specific objectives should be smaller, logical, connected part of different objective. They are specific aspects of the topic that we want to study within the framework of a study, as the case might be, if we want to look into it. So yes, we always should have an overarching objective, and then we should have the specific objective which should be sequential in nature to achieve or arrive at the general objective. So here I'm giving you a pictographical representation of the role of theory and research. Remember, we are trying to predict behaviors, understand relationships, and other roles for the theories that needs to be built upon it. So yes, prediction of behavior, understanding of relationship, and other roles are of paramount importance. The theoretical theory enables to predict the behavior or characteristics of one phenomenon from the knowledge of another phenomena. Accomplishing the first goal allows the theorist to predict the behavior or characteristics of one phenomena from the knowledge of another phenomena's characteristics. And that is what prediction is all about it. So it's always all about cause and effect relationship, as the case might be. Understanding the relationship refers to the various phenomena, various factors, various parameters that are playing a major role or even a minor role in the outcomes of a relationship. A theory is a coherent set of general propositions used as a principle of explanation and apparent relationship for certain observed phenomena. So why a particular person is behaving in a particular fashion, or why a particular data is coming up with a certain different kind of outcome, that might relate to other people, that might relate to other data that are in play with it. So we need to understand those relations between people, or probably between different factors and different parameters that comes into it, so that prediction becomes easier. So first, to predict behaviors, the individual behaviors of data, then probably understanding the relationship vis-a-vis the data and other data. And then there are other roles: suggest the problem of a study, give a hypothesis that needs to be tested, provide simple explanation for the observed relationship regarding the relation of phenomena, helps in being consistent with already founded body of knowledge and the observed relation, provides a conceptual model for delimiting the scope of study, helps in study of various problems for delimiting the scope, and make research intelligence appealing, fact oriented, and much more understandable by general public, and it should be beneficial for the society in the long run. So yes, there are other problems that needs to be taken care for. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video till the end.